joining us, America, this evening here on Indivisible with John Stubbins. This is a show we put God, family, and country first, and we will always tell you the truth. Look, I want to get right to it tonight. We've got a lot to talk about, so we're going to take a quick break here in 1 second. But before I do that, I just wanted to give you a quick reminder. We've got American Anarchy, which is our new documentary. We're doing events all over the country right now for this specific documentary. And again, everybody, you can go to johnstubbins.com where you can contribute, you can donate, you can actually become a partner and investor in the documentary. It's extremely important that we get this out before next year's election, and hopefully we can get it to you before the Iowa caucuses. Take a quick break. We're going to be right back with our guest, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Thanks for sticking with us, folks. I've got an amazing guest this evening. I want to bring on my friend right now, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. How you doing, brother?
Hey, John, I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Look, I know you're busy, so I'm going to get right to it. I know we got a lot to cover. I want to start with the border. I know that you guys have the red buoys now in the water, razor wire fence being put up, the border walls being completed down there. Just give us a broad update on what's going on down at the southern border.
So look, this is pretty overwhelming for us. We deal with thousands of people coming across our border every day. I know that you know this, but other cities like Washington, D.C. and New York and other Democratic cities who are sanctuary cities complained about just a few thousand total. We get that every day. We have to deal with that influx. So we've sued the Biden administration over many issues related to the border, including the Remain-in-Mexico program, which we still have a lawsuit going on, as Governor Abbott has tried to institute policies that would protect our border. Obviously, the federal government sued us. So we are doing everything we can to protect our citizens because our federal government is not just not protecting us, they're affirmatively inviting these people in, and they're doing everything to transport them around the country, particularly to Republican states. And it's just part of their strategy, and unfortunately, it's damaging to the citizens of this country.
Yeah, and people are, they're in despair about it because, it's not just lost jobs for Americans. It's not just overcrowding our schools. It's higher taxes. It's medical. It goes across the board and touches pretty much everything that we do. And I don't know if a lot of people thinking about the issue have the foresight to think down the road on how it affects their family, their kids, their grandkids. And I know you guys are dealing with it every single day, and thank God for all of your efforts. But the American people, look, as we see, these people are being distributed all across the country, and they're coming to cities. I mean, a lot of them are going to California. I guess I would say, thank God for that. Or now they're going to New York City, but they're going other places too, and places where people don't want these people. So it's really a problem, and it's a problem that we've got to get a handle on. I'm just thankful that you guys, are thinking outside the box. These buoys are a fantastic idea. Razor wire fencing, like I said, completing that wall. Are they trying to stop you?
So, first of all, let me say, you're right. This is going to affect everybody because the cartels are gaining power and strength because they're making so much money, billions of dollars. And they're building an infrastructure, not just along the border, but really throughout the entire country so that they can transport people, human trafficking, but also drugs, fentanyl. And so if you don't know somebody that's died, some kid that's died because of a fentanyl overdose, more and more, we're going to know people. You are going to know people because the Mexican cartels in cooperation with the Chinese are getting better and better because the Biden administration's open border policy of transporting these drugs. So if it doesn't affect your family directly, I guarantee you're going to know somebody that has a kid that died because of fentanyl overdose. To me, that's one of the saddest things going on. And the Biden administration knows exactly what's going on, and they've got the border wide open. And the reality is, as you said, it's going to be all over this country. And it's not just drugs. All kinds of crimes are going to be increasing and have increased because of this wide open border policy.
Yeah, and I work with Jason Jones and Tom Holman, Border 911, all the time. And look, we know that they've got this new drug trank, which is, a combination of the fentanyl and this, I can't even pronounce it, zionicide or something. Jason told me it's basically a drug that kills big game down in Africa, like giraffes, rhinos, So now they've taken these two drugs, this fentanyl and this other thing, and now they've got trank. So now you got trank coming across the border, which turns these people, average Americans. I've seen the photos, the video. It turns them into zombies. I mean, it's really pathetic. It's sad, but it's killing people.
No, look, John, this is what I think makes me the saddest, because I know so many families that have been affected by drugs, particularly fentanyl, and now I haven't had as much experience with this, but I'm sure you're right. This is going to be a new problem. And there's nothing harder for me than to see these young kids and their families after they die, and knowing that it was a complete waste. The kids didn't even know that some of the things that they were taking were laced with fentanyl and drugs that could kill them. So, I just for this reason alone, I wish the Biden administration would care about this. And unfortunately, even the death of over 100,000 Americans every year, and that number increasing every year, has no apparent impact on the Biden administration's desire to stop the illegal immigration and the consequences of it.
You're right. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with Attorney General Ken Paxton.
Big news, America. Mike is bringing back the pillow offer for just $29.98. They're the softest pillows. They don't go flat. Wash them and dry them as many times as you like, and they still keep their shape. And they're made in America. Mike is offering his premium My Pillows at his lowest price ever. Queen size for $29.98, regularly $69.98. That's a $40 savings. And king size, only $5 more. Go to mypillow.com and enter the promo code Indivisible for my show, or call 1-800-716-4639 and give them the code Indivisible for my show, and you're going to get huge savings.
And we're back with Attorney General Ken Paxton. Ken, I want to talk to you a little bit about election integrity. That's a big deal, obviously. And we work all over the country, whether it's Jovan Pulitzer or Carrie Lake or Mike Lindell, Greg Phillips and Catherine. We work all over the country on this issue. And I know recently that Harris County sued the state of Texas to protect its failed election administrator, Clifford Tatum. I believe that's over in Houston. Is that right?
That's correct.
What's all that about, and why are they suing you guys?
So look, they have a disaster in Harris County. The elections there are not run fairly. There's probably more fraud going on in that one county than there is the entire state. I'm not sure that the last elections we had there are very reliable. And so we're going to see a battle with the state probably going forward until we resolve this. The bigger issue than even that, John, is the fact that our Court of Criminal Appeals, which is Republican, struck down a statute from 1951. They did this about 2 years ago. And they struck down a statute where the legislature directed the Attorney General, me, to prosecute voter fraud. Now, I wasn't around in 1951, but that statute has protected Texas for 70-something years. And they struck it down, arguing that I'm in the executive branch as the Attorney General. I'm not allowed to go to court. That is the most ludicrous. That is a ludicrous ruling, and yet they've gotten away with it. They're Republicans, but it was an 8-1 vote. I'm convinced that those people were put in place by George Soros. And if we do not fix that, and I tried to fix it this session, The Senate passed a bill to fix it, to put it back in place. And guess what? The Texas House failed to pass it. They wouldn't even consider it. I was told by the leadership team and the speaker that they didn't have time to deal with election integrity issues like mine.
Wow.
That they were too busy.
Okay. What do you think the real reason is behind that?
The alignment between the speaker, Dade Phelan, and the Democrats is huge. He's elected by 65 Democrats, and all he needs is 10 Republicans. And then the Republicans are controlled by the Democrats, because the Democrats then demand certain things be done, including things like not passing anything that would protect our state from voter fraud. So our Republican House, controlled by Dade Phelan, is clearly controlled by Democratic initiatives like this. And so that's why they didn't have time to fix something as fundamental as protecting against voter fraud in our state. That is a Republican speaker and the Republican House following him that did that.
And that's a common sense issue.
But it's not just common sense. We're going to lose the state of Texas in 2 to 4 years if we don't fix it. People aren't taking it seriously. The Senate took it seriously, but the House not only did not take it seriously, they said, not a priority for us. We don't care.
What do you think can be done at this point?
You got to change speakers. We have to get rid of Dade Phelan this next time. The Republican members of the House have to stand up. They so far have had very little courage in doing that, because they know he's got 65 Democrat votes and he only needs 10 Republicans. But Republicans in the Texas House either need to speak out about this, or they will be part of the change of the guard, which is we're going to have a Democratic state. And once we do, those laws will stay in place and we will not be able to prosecute voter fraud. We'll never get it back. So the Republican House is contributing to voter fraud. And that's the direction we're headed right now.
That's just terrible. And again, it makes no sense. Like you said, it's been on the books since 1951. Okay, commonsensical, but also needed. It's needed.
And John, and directed by the legislature and this court after 70-something years of precedent. Their own precedent says no. The Texas Attorney General is in the executive branch. He's not allowed to go to court. If they're right, I'm not allowed to go to court on any issue. We have 38,000 civil cases. If they're right, no attorney general in the country is allowed to go to court because they're in the executive branch. And yet this decision has gone basically unquestioned, and it will have a dramatic impact on our elections going forward.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's unconstitutional, and it makes no sense. Just on a basic human level, it makes zero sense. And you know what it is? It's just like all these other problems that we have out there. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day. You know, they said, well, what do you do when you get into election crimes? What's the first thing that you attack? I said, well, let's use our brains here for a second. The very first thing that I'm going to attack is the low-hanging fruit. How about the dead voter rolls? Okay, you know, we attack those and get them out of the way. That's a common sense thing. Everybody should be able to agree on that, but we don't. And that tells you where we are as far as fraud and the people out there wanting fraud to exist, because no one should be against a simple, rollback of those voter rolls and getting them in line and getting, dead people off of them. That's just common sense. Look, I want to move on. The people of Texas, you've got your thumb on the pulse of the people of Texas. You're a patriot. What are the people saying about this record inflation, combined with the pressure from the border, combined with gas prices, price at the grocery store, just everything combined, which seems to be squeezing, not only the middle class, but really everyone in America right now? What do Texans, what do they think about this?
Well, look, I think a lot of them regret, those that voted for Joe Biden, a lot of them regret it, because they're seeing a president who this is not an accident. The border's not an accident. The disaster in our foreign policy, whether it's, Ukraine or Russia, or whether it's Afghanistan or Iran, there's no accidents there. And there's certainly no accident with inflation. They knew when they were spending all that money, trillions of dollars, that they were going to cause inflation, and they did it on purpose. And The Fed's obviously trying to fight that with higher interest rates. That's also affecting the economy. None of this was necessary. If you just go back, 2.5 years ago, we had low inflation. We were not spending like the government was spending like they're spending now. We had safer borders, much safer borders than we've had in decades.
Gas prices were low.
Our gas prices were low. Food prices were, going up 2% a year. This was done on purpose, and it is a sad deal that it's really working class Americans that are most affected by higher gas prices, higher energy prices, and subsequently higher food costs and other costs.
Yeah, the thing that drives me crazy about this is that you think in your mind, again, and I know that common sense, again, it's one of those things that's kind of non-existent anymore, but you would think that, again, with common sense, that people would look at that and say, I don't want that. I don't care if I have a D or an R or I beside my name. I don't want higher gas prices. I don't want higher food prices. I don't want inflation. I want to buy a home, whatever it is. I don't want these issues. Okay. So you think that just an average American would say that, and yet they vote for this. They vote for this nonsense. Okay. Now, granted, some of that is election fraud, obviously. And we got to get to the bottom of that, which we're doing. But there's people out there voting for Marxism.
Yeah, look, it's hard for me to explain. I see that in Texas often, people coming from other states, particularly California, and they're escaping high costs, high taxes, high regulation, lack of freedom during COVID, and they come to freedom in Texas where there's opportunity, there's no income tax, there's less regulation, there's lower tax, and then they vote for Democrats. And I'm like, look, if you want those policies, don't bring them with you. Stay where you're at.
Please.
Don't come here escaping all the problems. And look, I have an aunt and uncle who are New York. They were New York teachers. They were the same way. They took the high salaries from New York, the really rich retirement from their teacher salaries in New York. They moved to Nevada. You know why? Because there's no state income tax.
Right.
They wanted lower taxes, but they voted for Democrats out in Nevada. I'm like, I don't understand why you escape one, but you continue to vote for the very things that you don't like.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. And these are educated people, so you're wondering, how do you not connect the dots between your vote and what you're getting and what you're seeing, in real time? Have they changed their mind?
No, they moved back to New York eventually, but Nevada became a Democratic state while they were there. So they have never been able to rationally explain to me. It's very emotional for them because they've been Democrats and gotten all these benefits from the state for working for the state, and it's hard for them to separate that, even though they're trying to escape the bad part, which is high taxes.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Look, we'll move on. You don't even want to get me started on that, because I can go over a whole list of people that just burn my hide thinking about their decision making. But look, maybe they'll wake up now. Maybe finally they'll wake up. I know some are. I want to talk about the Biden crime family, which goes back to the Obama administration under these green energy incentives, the weatherization program. It just seems like all these distractions, whether it's big tech's involvement or, Ukraine, Hunter Biden, that situation, Burisma, the Russia hoax, adding it all up, all these different distractions, all the while these are going on, COVID, all the while money is going out the back door at the U.S. Treasury, and these are American taxpayers, on the hook for trillions of dollars that these people have stolen. And, what do you think is going to happen? We've got these 17 recordings. We've got witnesses out the wazoo. Do you believe that Joe Biden is going to be held accountable?
No, not until we change administrations. And if we can't change administrations, which we can't fix voter fraud, we can't. The FBI and the Department of Justice, I don't see how you can not say they're absolutely corrupt. and that they're completely political. They've given Joe Biden a pass. They've actually done everything they can to protect him. They did the same thing with Hillary. And yet, look what's going on with Donald Trump. The very same things that Joe Biden had these documents in his garage, and suddenly, he's fine. Everything's fine. They're not after him. So we have, unfortunately, a very scary thing in this country, much like other countries have, whether it's China or Russia.
Two-tier justice.
Two-tier justice and a government that is crushing freedom. And I don't really know what the difference between that, what the Department of Justice does, and what the FBI does now, and what we see in foreign countries that are totalitarian countries. Look at what they did to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. when he was speaking on censorship. They tried to shut him up, and he said, you know what? Any government that shuts down dissenting voices is a totalitarian government. That is the Joe Biden administration. And the law enforcement, sadly, is not about law enforcement anymore. They're about crushing political enemies and then protecting people who are committing crimes inside of Democratic administrations.
Sounds eerily familiar to 1933, doesn't it?
It
the
really
Third Reich.
I've never felt more in my lifetime. In the last 2 years, I've never felt more like we're in that time period where, people went along with the government doing things to people that they didn't like. And guess where it led? It led to a lot of atrocities. We can all admit that now. And the Germans, day by day, kept their mouth shut and let it happen. If we keep our mouth shut and we don't speak out, they'll slowly but surely get all of us.
Yeah, and look, I wonder, the Durham investigation has brought us a lot of information, and we're going to continue that in my documentary, American Anarchy. It's really incredible, because to me, a lot of this is, I would consider high treason, not just breaking the law, but actually treason against the American people. And it's not only disturbing, but I trying to get a handle on it and think about it, you can see that slippery slope, like you said, 1933 all over again. The Nuremberg laws, all these different things, they came out real quick. Once that totalitarian government, dictator, for all intents and purposes, once Hitler became chancellor and was appointed chancellor, you saw how quickly things, just one right after the other, occurred. You had the Reichstag fire, which to this day nobody knows if the Nazis set the fire or not, but I regress on that. The bottom line is, once that control is given and you've got a puppet master like a George Soros, knowing what he wants. And by the way, wasn't George Soros part of the Third Reich? Now that we bring that back, a lot of people don't know that. I want to talk also about censorship, because censorship, people really aren't talking about it as much right now, but it's still out there. I'm still being censored heavily on social media. That's why we moved my show. We used to do a 1 hour live show that we streamed to social media, probably 12 different platforms. We stopped doing that because they kept taking my show down, telling the American people that we were giving them false information, which is not true. I stand by every show we've done, every show. And they just don't like it because I'm giving another side that they don't agree with because they're lying.
Now, look, this is why we have lawsuits against Twitter, Facebook, and Google. We have had 4 lawsuits against Google, and it's their monopoly control of the marketplace of ideas. And there's no doubt that the Biden administration, one of the arguments has been, well, they're private businesses, they can discriminate. One of the problems we have is the Biden administration, we can see the FBI has cooperated with, or they've worked with Facebook, they've worked with Google, they've worked with these technology companies to target speech on various issues about COVID or other issues that they
China.
Yeah, so they try to shut down speech indirectly through these companies. Hey, look, that is a serious First Amendment problem and a certain challenge for us, because these businesses are fronting the government viewpoints, and that's just as much a problem as if the government were doing.
Yeah, and are you familiar with Jason Fick's lawsuit that he filed, Section 230?
I know the Section 230 issue for sure.
I'm listed on that lawsuit right next to General Flynn's name. We've got probably 100 people listed on that lawsuit. I know Tucker Carlson's on there and a bunch of other people, but and I'm proud to be listed on that lawsuit, and I'll testify because I can share what they've done to me personally and the harm that they've caused. And again, I hold my head high. I can look myself in the mirror every day, and we don't lie on this show. We tell the American people the truth about everything. I have no reason to lie. Like I said, they have another narrative, which is a lie, and they're trying to make that, history when it's not. It's fabricated, and we've got to continue to fight for that. So I'm thankful that you're continuing to stay on top of that as well. How many lawsuits do you have there?
So we have 4 Google lawsuits, we have a Facebook lawsuit, and a Twitter lawsuit. Of course, we're continuing to look at others, but some of those lawsuits have been going on for several years, and we are making significant progress. And I think not only are they going to be responsible to the citizens of Texas for deceiving them and having to pay large sums of money, but I also think that there'll be some restructuring of some of these companies. That's part of what we're trying to do is force them to restructure so that they are not a monopoly and don't control the marketplace of ideas. So there's competition and consumers have a choice.
Well, let me know if you need my help. I'll testify. How many lawsuits do you have right now against the Biden administration currently?
So 48 lawsuits we've sued. Some of them have been resolved, a few of them, but most of those lawsuits are still going on. So we had lawsuits about vaccines, and we won several of those. We're actually also, on a side note, we started an investigation of some of the big pharma companies about what they said about vaccines and how the reality is they may not have been exactly honest about what they told us and as far as testing those vaccines.
Well, we're thankful that you keep fighting. Brother, I'm proud of you, and you know that you have our support here. We endorse you consistently and we got your back. So you just let us know if you need anything from us. By the way, folks, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, again, Twitter and Facebook at Ken Paxton TX. That's at Ken Paxton TX for Texas. I want to thank you for coming on the show, brother, and hopefully we'll have you back, sometime in the fall to get another update and see how things are going.
Would love to do it. Thanks, John. I appreciate having me on.
God bless you, brother. Have a great day.
You too.
Hunter Nation is the ultimate we the people in the conservation community, holding our elected employees accountable to the hunting, fishing, trapping, freedom lifestyle that has brought wildlife back to the healthiest and most thriving condition in our lifetime. HunterNation.org is the epicenter for freedom and wildlife conservation in America. I am Hunter Nation.
That was Ken Paxton. A lot of information there, a lot of serious information that we needed to cover. And we're thankful that we can have him on to give us those updates. And just like with Jason Jones, Tom Home, and Border 911, it's important, and we've got to do it. Folks, God bless you. God bless your families. God bless America. We'll see you next week.